Hi, welcome to Inkscape for Teachers. I'm Jeff Phillips, and in this episode I'll be showing you how you can use Inkscape to teach various aspects of transformations, in particular rotation. If you look in various textbooks, most of them use graph paper, and it's quite fiddly to do with students. You have to photocopy graph paper. They can't really draw in their books. But I think a better way to do it would be to use Inkscape and do it all on screen if you have the facilities to do that. So I'll show you how I've created this transformation here, starting from scratch. So I'll open up a blank file. Now the first thing I'll do is I'll get rid of the page border. That really just gets in the way. So I'll go File, Document Properties, and take the tick out of Show Page Border, then click the cross to close. I'm going to show the grid by going View, Page Grid. You can adjust the grid in Document Properties where we were before. Just very quickly, File, Document Properties. One of the tabs up here is Grids, and you can change the spacing and where the grid starts and so on. Now, I think the first thing to do for transformations is to draw some axes that represent the centre point of a rotation. So using the Bezier pen tool here, or B, I'll click it, and somewhere in the middle of the screen I'll click, before I do that I'll just check that Snap to Grids is on, which it wasn't, so I'll turn that on. If none of these are lighting up, you need to turn on the master switch here to show all the snapping tools and go through the ones that you need, but the main one here is Snap to Grid. So now if I click and then just click again and enter, then select tool, click off, I can see the line. Let's make that red just to make it stand out. Shift and click the red to make the line red. Then I'm going to click the line and Control D to duplicate that, which places a copy exactly on top. Then rotate it 90 degrees, and there's my Cartesian grid. Of course, except this isn't on a grid line, so I'm going to drag that down. I should have done this before and just stretch that a bit. You can stretch each one, it's up to you how big you want to make it. But let's just get a basic Cartesian grid. Now, just to mark the centre point of rotation, I know it's here where these lines cross, but I'm going to draw a circle. Click the Circle Ellipses tool. Hold down Control and mouse wheel to zoom in. Then I want to snap to that point there, which I am, because I've got snapping centres of objects on. I'll go back, snap, and Control Shift to draw a circle. I'll Control Z to undo that. I'll turn off the snapping to grid for a moment because it was trying to snap to the nearest grid line, which was the centre bit. Control Shift and drag out, and mouse wheel down to zoom in, or zoom out or in, mouse wheel up and down. I'll take off the border of the circle by shift clicking the red cross down here and put a fill for the circle, let's say blue, just by clicking blue. Select tool and Control Shift and drag a corner just to make that a bit smaller. Mouse wheel to zoom out again, and there we have a grid with a dot in the middle. Now, to create a shape, I used a C shape before, but that took a little bit longer. I'll come back to that later. Perhaps just a triangle to start with. If I click the Bezier pen tool again, and look, if you want to snap to grid, I'll turn the snap to grid on, and you can draw a triangle perhaps here. Click, 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 and close the curve, the shape. Let's make it aqua, and there's our shape. Now, one idea, I did this before and I just rotated the shape around like, well, I'll show you, by clicking on the shape and bringing up the transform menu, Control Shift M and the rotate tab, and if you type in 90 degrees, before we rotate I'll go Control D to duplicate, then apply that rotation, and you can see that looks a bit confusing. So I'll Control Z and Control Z again to get rid of the duplicate. Click on the shape and then click on it a second time. You can see the centre rotation is this little cross in the centre of the bounding box. I want that in the centre of the blue dot. So I'll drag it down to about here mouse wheel and zoom in. And I'll drag the centre of rotation until it snaps in the middle. Now it's not snapping because I haven't got the centre of rotation snapping tool on. I'll click that, try again, and you can see it snaps to the centre. Mouse wheel to zoom out and control. Now if I apply that, before I do, I'll control D to duplicate it again, and if I apply that transformation, you can see it's rotated. Mouse wheel to zoom out a bit. It's rotated around by an angle of 90 degrees. Now to explain that better, it's probably better if we have the corners marked and rotated separately. So again, I'll control Z a couple of times to get rid of the duplicate. I'm going to put dots on each corner of the triangle. I'll just zoom in a bit. I'll grab this dot by clicking on it, control C to copy. I'll take off the snap to, oh no I won't, I'll leave it there. Control V near each corner to paste, and notice it snaps onto the corners. I'm just going to change the colours of the dots, change that to red, perhaps change that one to green, perhaps a darker green's easy to see on screen, and there we go. Now I'm going to join each dot to the centre of rotation. Clicking the Bezier pen tool again, snap to the centre of the axes, then snap to the centre of that dot, click and enter. You might want to change that colour by shift clicking the dark green to match the corner. I'm going to do the same with the blue dot up here. Now, perhaps I shouldn't have chosen blue because the centre's blue, but no matter. Click, click, enter, and of course that's obliterated my other colour line, but we'll just shift click to make that blue, and we'll send it back one level by clicking the select tool and up here clicking down one step, and you can see it's now underneath the green line, so we can see a bit of the green, the full green line, and a bit of the blue line. Now finally for this corner, click the centre of the red dot, the centre of the axes, and enter. Shift click red to make that line red, and there we go. Now I'm actually going to turn the grid off. I'll take the snapping off, and I'm just going to move this dot, this dot here, and this triangle. We'll click the triangle and then click N for the nodes tool. I'm just going to move that to here. I'll actually turn on the snapping, and I don't want it snapping the grid, so I'll take that off. I'll drag this node to snap it to the end of the line, and click the select tool and drag this blue dot to snap there. Okay, and this end of the line's in the wrong spot, so I'll click it, then N for the node tool to get the nodes, and drag until it snaps to the centre. Now I want all this to be grouped together, the object, the lines, and not so much the centre dot, but we can worry about that in a minute. I'll just drag around all of that. I'll only select what's completely enveloped. I'll just shift click to take off that centre dot. I'll just zoom in a bit, control mouse wheel, and shift click that blue dot. There it is. To deselect. Doesn't really matter if it's duplicated, it's just one dot on top of another. Zoom back out and control G to group. Now this might sound a bit fiddly, but it's probably easier for a teacher to do and explain to the class on the data projector perhaps, but you'd be surprised how students can cope with this sort of thing, I guess. Now if I click on the object, Control D to duplicate, it'll duplicate the dots and the rays, I guess you could call them. Now if I apply that transformation, again goes haywire because I forgot to change the centre of transformation, so centre of rotation. Control Z twice to get rid of the duplicate. Click on all that. I'm looking for the centre of rotation, so I click a second time. There it is. I want it actually down here in the middle of the axes. There it is, snapped. Now if I click on it, Control D to duplicate and apply that transformation, mouse wheel out a bit, you can see it's rotated around. I mustn't have included the red line there. I'll go back and fix that up, Control Z, and if I shift click that, and now that'll add it to the selection, Control G to group it all. Now if I Control D to duplicate and apply that transformation, it's stuffed up again because I've changed the centre of rotation. Control Z twice, click twice, drag that centre of rotation down there. If you need to zoom in to check that's right, which it is, Control D to duplicate, apply the transformation, Control D, apply another transformation, Control D, another transformation, and I'll click off, and you can see that each red line is at 90 degrees to each other, the blue lines are at 90 degrees, the green lines are at 90 degrees, so the 90-degree rotation has been performed. So that's one way of explaining transformations. I apologise for the muck-ups in having to backtrack a couple of times there, but probably not a bad idea for you to see how I got out of trouble there in case it happens to you. Anyway, that completes this short video on transformations, rotations. You can draw a more complicated shape like this one to do the same sort of thing, but good luck if you wish to use this with students. I think you'll find that probably a bit more fun than scratching around on small diagrams in textbooks or crumpled photocopied worksheets. All the best, thanks for watching.